firstly give Barnesy a lot of credit for the career that he's had. I can actually remember he refereed, I think his first European Cup game, I believe, was Ulster versus Benetton back in 2000 and I'm going to say 2006 because that's when I sort of burst onto the scene at Ulster, maybe 2007. And again, I was sitting down after the match, and I think Tommy Bowe actually scored a hat trick that day for us. And I sat down, and he sat down beside us, and we were just having a chit chat. And he was saying, "Oh yeah, this is my first game or my first European game." And yeah, from then on, he obviously refereed me, and uh, so many times throughout the years. Ulster, Ireland, the British and Irish Lions, he yellow carded me on numerous occasions. He's the only referee ever to yellow card me. He probably had good reason to do so. But yeah, I think one thing about Wayne Barnes is that he is very much respected by, I'd say, nearly all of the players. Nearly all of the players. Of course, referees are going to have some bad guys that don't like him. But yeah, quality referee. And I think he let the game flow for as much as he could. The last, like we all know, you can penalise every single breakdown if you really want to. But I think most of the time he gets it right. And I think him and the TMO got the decisions right. The Frizzell one actually, it's a bit of an accident, like, isn't it, really? It's just unfortunate where the way he fell. But I think everybody was happy with the yellow card, move on. But yeah, the Sam came on for me was definitely a red card. Just a needless challenge, an area of the pitch where he just needed to be pulled to ground, and they would have played on. And goodness knows what would have happened if they had kept 15 men on the pitch for what was it, 30 minutes, 50 minutes the game. So yeah, fair play to Wayne Barnes. He's had a great career, and now he's an author. So he's bringing out his book, or it's just been launched. So he's trying to cash in while he can. So fair play to him. I think that's the first time Gats has mentioned me in publicly in the media. Um, I think ever. So yeah, that's obviously very nice to hear. I was playing very very well on that tour. Had a couple of really good games. The game that Barnesy yellow carded me against the Cheetahs actually got man of the match. Weirdly enough, I played well, and then was supposed to get some game time against the Sharks, which was the following week, I believe, or maybe we got week after, and just obviously picked up that knee injury. But yeah, I think Gats liked me. I didn't do too much talking. I just led by example on the pitch and did most of my talking by how I played rather than shouting off the pitch, which is now what I do now in the media. So yeah, he was a great coach. He was a very good delegator, very good man manager. Get the best out of people by again not having to say too much. Um, yeah, and I think I maybe mentioned this to you before, Donny, about me injuring myself and him coming up to me when I was on the physio table. More or less, my tour was over, and he put his hand on my leg and he goes, "Oh, you'll learn from this," and just walked off. And I was like, "Well, what a prick! Like that, why would you say something like that to somebody whose tour's over? He's depressed. He's literally packing his bags, or Joe Worsley was packing my bags for me in the hotel room, and I was getting out of Dodge 4 or 5 days later. And then I sort of like thought deeper into what he actually meant, and it was like about the week training leading up to important matches, and maybe like holding yourself back a little bit and being a bit smarter, a bit cuter about the way you train, about the way you manage yourself. And unfortunately, like me, I just played 100 miles an hour every single game, every single minute. In training, I suppose with more experience, I did taper off a little bit. But in 2009, when I think it was Alan Wynne Jones actually that carried the ball into me, and we were just doing like a ruck and drill. And when he carried it in, two boys came in to clean me out, and I sort of had him up in a sort of wrap tackle. He was even bigger back then, a huge man. And I just tried to throw him to the ground. When I threw him to the ground, the two guys came in, cleaned me out, and my knee just got caught ever so slightly. But it was a popped MCL, 3 or 4 week injury. And again, I think I can remember saying to the doctor, "Look, I might be go. It might be good to go here in a couple of weeks' time. He's like, nah, Stevie, it's going to take a bit longer. So that's nice to hear from Warren Gatland, and maybe some of the things that he said to me on that tour. I needed to think about a little bit more deeply. And yeah, he's put Tom Croft in, who actually came in as Alan Quinlan's replacement after he got banned for eye gouge and Leo Cullen. There was a bit of drama before heading into that tour, and then obviously Jerry Flannery got wiped out in the training in Pennyhill Park. Tomas O'Leary got wiped out in the training in Pennyhill Park. Bodies were just coming down, but the replacements were unbelievable. And Tom Croft, what an athlete! What an athlete! Honestly, that guy could cover the ground. He was as fast as any winger. Maybe not as physical in the tackle, but yeah, for the style of play that the Lions played that year, he was definitely up there. So, and he scored 2 tries in the first test in Durban, when they went down. I'm not sure I would have got on the end of those two if I had started that game. So yeah, fair play to Crofty, and fair play to Gats for giving me a shout. It feels like Ulster have had a sluggish start, but they've 9 points out of a possible 10 on the board. Um, and scored some really good tries. A lot more physical at home there against the Bulls at the weekend. I actually thought Ulster, with their team selection, they would have went very hard. They would have went after this game. A little bit of redemption after Connacht coming up to Belfast last season and ending their hopes of winning a trophy. But they haven't. They really haven't. I think it's 11 or 12 changes. Maybe two or three only starting from the pack and one in the backs from last week's win over the Bulls. I know a couple are enforced through injury. I think Big Dave Ewers, he went off with an HIA. So I'm not saying that they're giving this game up by their team selection, but it's a hell of a lot weaker than I was expecting. And I'm sure Connacht also. And Connacht went fairly strong. Prendergast at number 8, Seamus Hurley Langton, who was unbelievable last week in their big win over Glasgow. Connor Oliver back in there as well. We know how he was a real thorn in the backside of Ulster last season in that quarter final. Jack Carty's back to captain the side at out half. They're on the 3G pitch. Weather looks to be okay at the minute. So yeah, it's for Connacht, they've got off to a great start. Pete Wilkins taking over the reins from Andy Friend. John Muldoon's back in there. Big Scott Fardy's looking after things as well. They've a bit more steel in their pack. A new second row brought in from Bristol Bears, and with the welcome back Finlay Beelan, but they've one of the best loose heads in the game. In the URC in Buckley. He is a fine scrummager. Never lets a side down, and I think the tight heads that showed they were under pressure against Zebra Way a couple of weeks ago. French and I can't remember the other one. There was a yellow card and they were nearly getting pushed over against Zebra. So I think Buckley will be licking his lips at this one, and I expect Ulster to give them a game. But for me, Connacht are on a bit of momentum. Blade and Cardi to run the show, and their forwards just to get on top and come away with a victory.